Hi, welcome to Bookie. Today we will unlock the book The Charisma Myth, How Anyone Can Master the Art and Science of Personal Magnetism. As we get started, take a moment to consider a few questions. Do you think you are a charismatic person? Do you believe it is difficult to practice charisma? If someone told you that you could train to be charismatic without any bodybuilding, weight loss, makeup, or even personality change, would you believe them? Before you jump to answer these questions, listen to the following short story. One summer day in 1955, Marilyn Monroe was riding the subway like any normal person. Even though she was accompanied by a magazine editor and a photographer, nobody recognized this plainly dressed girl. Yes, you heard right. The beautiful Marilyn Monroe appeared plain and ordinary, and no one on the train noticed her. However, she decided to show the world that she could instantaneously change from a normal person to a glamorous star whenever she wanted. So, when she stepped out of the subway onto the sidewalk in New York, she let down her hair and struck a pose. With this simple twist, the familiar glamorous Marilyn Monroe appeared, and suddenly realizing that the superstar was right next to them, passers-by rushed to her in a craze. How amazing is that? What enabled Marilyn Monroe to switch so easily from plain and simple to glamorous? The book The Charisma Myth, How Anyone Can Master the Art and Science of Personal Magnetism will decipher this mystery for you. The book is written by Olivia Fox Cabane, a professional charisma and leadership coach and a former Forbes columnist. Her work has appeared in the New York Times, Bloomberg, and Business Week. Her most important claim in the book, and one that goes against what we're used to thinking, is that charisma is not innate but a skill that anyone can learn. Charisma is a vague and abstract concept for most people, but for Cabane, it is an applied science with significant practicality. After you finish this bookie, you will know that you don't need to change yourself to be charismatic, and you don't need to force yourself to change your personality. What you do need to learn and practice is how to better express yourself. From the perspective of behavioral science, Cabane dissects the psychological basis, behavioral patterns, and social scenarios that collectively form the foundation of charisma. She also elaborates on the practical methods and techniques of charisma and shares a series of small exercises she has designed that can be applied to daily life. By practicing these techniques, you can almost immediately feel the change in the eyes of those around you and see your own personal attractiveness increase. Next, we will unlock this book in the following 3 parts. Part 1, The Fundamentals of Charisma. Part 2, Practicing Charisma. Part 3, Challenging Situations for Charisma. Let's start with Part 1, The Fundamentals of Charisma. Most people probably believe that charisma is a natural trait, but Cabane disagrees. She argues that if charisma were an innate attribute, charismatic people would be captivating all the time. However, as we can see from entertainment news, superstars and models may be charismatic in one moment but not the next. Why is that? Well, charisma is something that can be switched on and off. Research has shown that charisma is the result of specific nonverbal behaviors rather than an inherent personal quality. In fact, the charisma level of those superstars fluctuates greatly depending on whether or not they are exhibiting these specific behaviors, just as our previous story illustrated. When Marilyn Monroe wanted to turn her charisma back on, all she needed to do was change her body language. Charisma is usually acquired early in life. Many people don't consciously realize that they are learning charismatic behaviors even when they're practicing them. They constantly reflect on the outcomes of their behavior and refine their actions accordingly. These slowly become instinctive responses and reflexes. This is how countless well-known charismatic figures reach the peak of their charisma. For instance, Steve Jobs, the famous Apple CEO, was known as the most charismatic person of his time. However, from Cabane's professional point of view, Jobs did not start out being the person we're all familiar with today. His early presentations came across as shy and awkward, and he was received as anything from overly dramatic to downright nerdy. However, Jobs progressively built up his charisma over the years. You can see the traces of that progress in the public appearances he made over the years.